Jiang Ye is grinding through horse stance drills in the middle of a snowstorm, sweating like the cold doesn't even apply to him. His teacher isn't impressed with the method class overall. Most of them haven't even hit minor success in their cultivation technique after the whole winter break, but she calls him out as the one who actually improved. He's close to minor success now. His buddy jokes that with better talent he'd already be at great success, and Jiang Ye brushes it off, says talent talk just undersells the effort people put in. Quick context dump here. This is a world ranked by talent first, then comprehension, then grit, and everyone in this regular class got stuck with garbage talent. Doesn't matter though, because in this world martial arts isn't a hobby, it's survival. Something called the shadow disaster kills something like 10 million people a year, so getting strong is basically mandatory. Now here's the twist. A few days ago, a system popped into Jiang Ye's head, and with it, memories of his past life. Turns out he got reincarnated, and his long overdue cheat code finally showed up. Except the cheat code reads low martial achievement system, which makes zero sense, because this world's the opposite of low stakes. People here punch through nukes and level mountains with their bare hands. Getting a low-tier system in a world like that feels like a cosmic joke. Still, he shrugs it off since he was already planning to grind his way up regardless. Realistically, only about 15 kids from the regular class get into martial arts university each year, so he needs to crack the top 10 to have a shot, and the kids already ahead of him aren't slowing down either. Assessment day hits, and the whole class gets keyed up over the ranking. The punch tester comes out. Results start rolling in for everyone, 300 here, 400 there. Then it's Jiang Ye's turn. He winds up, throws everything into one punch, and lands at 245 kilograms, just shy of the minor success benchmark. Nothing special by class standards, except the second he steps back, his system finally kicks on, and it goes off like he just broke the world record, telling him his punch strength beat out 90% of the entire population. Jiang Ye is floored because 245 kilograms getting flagged as elite in a world full of people punching out aircraft carriers is absurd, but the system doesn't care. It runs its evaluation, and hands him the title of martial arts master on the spot. Then it flags something else too. His actual body is weak and offers him a fix. A constitution boost incoming. So the system panel finally explains itself. Turns out that reward was a physique upgrade, bumping Jiang Ye from D rank mortal body to C rank. Nothing flashy, but he can feel it. Sharper senses, lighter body, like some fog just got cleared out of his system. Not a huge jump, but hey, going up a full rank isn't nothing. Results start posting on the board. His 245 kilos lands him 35th in the class, up 5 spots from last semester's 40th. He's grinning about it. That's real progress from an actual regular kid. No shortcuts. Then speed test. Everyone's calling numbers, and Jiang Ye steps up expecting nothing special. He clocks 12 meters per second. Problem is, that number's the benchmark for minor success, a level that he hasn't even hit yet. The whole room does a double take. Chen, his teacher, calls him out in front of everyone as proof that hard work pays off, and Jiang Ye just stands there letting it happen. Internally, he's putting it together. His cultivation level hasn't budged, but his body's just operating better now. That's the physique boost talking. Now he's cracked the top 30, which stings a little because that threshold used to matter last semester too. Top 30 gets you the school's poverty subsidy, and Jiang Ye, who's an orphan raised by working-class foster parents, missed it by 10 spots back then. Timing's rough, but he's not dwelling on it. His friend Wen Yuhui comes over hyped, telling him jumping 10 spots in one break is nuts. Wen Yuhui's already top 10 and already hit minor success, so when he jokes that Jiang Ye's still got a long way to go, there's a little truth buried in there. He's happy for his friend, sure, but not thrilled about the idea of actually getting past. Jiang Ye just quietly locks in a new goal for himself, top 10 by the end of the year. Combat assessment is up next. Chen explains they're skipping the virtual simulation part and just doing live sparring, with her fighting everyone herself at a suppressed power level. She reminds them that on the actual exam, they'll be facing opponents way stronger than that, so this is basically the easy version. Once it starts, she wrecks people. Doesn't matter if it's a top 10 student, she's ending fights in under 10 moves without breaking a sweat. Foundation is so clean, nobody can crack it. Jiang Ye is watching all this with actual admiration, thinking about how much of martial arts really just comes down to fundamentals. Then it's his turn again, and that's when things stop going according to plan. On the arena, Jiang Ye squares up against Chen, and right before the fight starts, the system pings again, telling him he's about to spar with something called a martial arts ancestor. He's stunned, this is his teacher we're talking about, but he doesn't have time to process it because she's already moving. She comes in fast, throws a punch, and even suppressed way down in power, her presence alone is enough to make him flinch. He tries an elbow strike. She catches it instantly and casually corrects his form mid-fight, then shows him what a real one looks like. The gap is obvious immediately. He gets sent stumbling back several feet. She closes in again for the finish, and he's basically out of room on the mat. No way an average student walks away from this. But somehow his body just moves on its own, some kind of impossible dodge, and he's back in the center. He's relieved but exhausted, quietly crediting the physique upgrade for saving him there. Even with the two of them technically at the same cultivation stage on paper, her actual skill is nowhere near comparable. She keeps pressing, unleashing a full combo, and he's stuck blocking and dodging until his arms go numb. Eventually, she pushes him out of the ring for good. He bows, thanks her for the lesson, and she compliments his growth since last semester, tells him to keep it up. What he doesn't hear is her internal reaction. She's genuinely impressed by how hard he trains, more than kids with actual talent, and it low-key bums her out because with real talent he could have been 25 schools alliance material instead of just solid regular university material. Back with the class, everyone's shocked he lasted as long as some of the top 10 students despite being stuck at a lower cultivation stage than all of them. Final combat ranking puts him at 20th, and Wen Yuehui jokes he's been sandbagging this whole time. Jiang Ye deflects it back at him since Wen Yuehui also jumped up to 2 spots himself. And then the system chimes in again with a new achievement for surviving that sparring match, and hands him a title claiming the teacher went easy on him. He's annoyed because she very clearly didn't, and she just held back on purpose, but whatever, the system already got the setting wrong once, so he's not shocked it's dense about this too. What actually gets his attention is the reward attached, a 30% perception boost specifically whenever she's teaching. Considering she happens to have martial arts class with them again that same afternoon, the timing couldn't be better. Final scores come in for the mock exam. He lands 25th overall, up from 40th last semester. And he's not even surprised since he knows exactly how much of that jump came from the system versus his own grinding. Chen Zilu publicly calls him out again in front of everyone, using him as the example of what pure effort can do for an average talent student. He stays composed through it, knowing the truth is somewhere in between. The system helped, but he wouldn't have activated anything without already putting in the work over break. Before dismissing class for lunch, she drops one more thing. This afternoon, she's teaching the advanced version of the cultivation technique for the first time ever. Jiang Ye heads out already thinking about how much that new perception and boost is about to help him soak it in. After lunch, Wen Yuehui pulls Jiang Ye aside with some rough news. Exam reforms coming next year, and the bar for getting into any decent university is about to jump way up. Now, you basically need perfection in the cultivation technique just to get into a mid-tier school, and even great success might only land you at the bottom of the pack. Naturally, the real fix is money. Better resources speed up cultivation, and that's not something that either of them really has. They joke around about the Elite 25 Schools Alliance being a total pipe dream, and Wen Yuehui admits he used to want that too as a kid before reality set in. Class starts, and Chen Zilu walks in to demonstrate the advanced fist technique for the first time ever to this class. This is normally reserved for kids who've already hit minor success, so Jiang Ye is locked in immediately. And thanks to that perception boost, watching her demonstrate hits different this time, every detail is suddenly crystal clear to him in a way it never was before. He realizes just how many mistakes he'd been making without even knowing it. Everyone breaks off to practice on their own. Jiang Ye just stands there for a while, mentally rewiring everything he thought he knew about the technique, then starts drilling it, getting smoother with every rep. 3 hours of non-stop full body training later, his form suddenly locks in, and he breaks through to minor success on the spot, way faster than the week or more it should have taken him. He credits the system's perception buff for the shortcut. When Yuehui, who'd already stopped to rest, notices Jiang Ye's breakthrough and congratulates him for real, genuinely happy for him. But right after that, another classmate, Li Zhichao, drops something even bigger. He breaks through all the way to great success, which is rare for a sophomore. Chen Zilu praises him too, but also warns him the jump from great success to perfection is brutal, and casually suggests he buy something called like a dragon pill to help. Li Zhichao hesitates over possible side effects. She reassures him it's safe. Jiang Ye clocks the name for later, then finds out from Wen Yuehui those pills cost $3,000 each, more than his foster mom makes in a month. Point made clear, money buys progress in this world, and he doesn't have any. Before leaving, Chen Zilu singles Jiang Ye out one more time, congratulates him on hitting minor success, and tells him personally to come to her if he's ever stuck on something. It's a big deal. He's literally the only student she's ever offered that to. Not even Li Zhichao gets that treatment. The rest of the boys are visibly jealous, and a few girls take the moment to hand him a water bottle on the way out. A shy classmate hands Jiang Ye a water bottle, and he just takes it without making it weird. She scurries off looking pleased with herself. He's already thinking ahead though, since that comprehension boost only kicks in while Chen Zilu's actually teaching, so getting more time with her, class or private coaching. It's basically free progress now. He wraps up training and heads home as the sun's going down. Walks into the smell of his mom's cookings, beef and corn ribs on the table. His little sister Jiang Ting comes barreling in asking for candy, and he makes her eat first before handing over a lollipop. Over dinner, his mom asks about the exam. He mentions 25th place, and she's thrilled. That's a 15-spot jump from last semester. He asks why his dad's been getting home late. She brushes it off as overtime at the factory. The TV in the background is running a news segment about a shadow disaster that just hit a nearby city. cleaned up by police and the Shadow Hunting Bureau, with a warning for anyone under a certain power level to stay inside at night. It's a reminder of how real the stakes are here. Only people who've hit the first break realm actually have a shot at surviving one of these events if it comes down to it. After dinner, Jiang Ye goes back to his room to keep training, checking his system panel and running the math on his current buffs. He's not bothered at all about leaning on the system, figures using an advantage while still grinding hard is just what strong people actually do. What does bug him a little is that both achievements he's gotten so far seem to be from the system straight up misreading the world around him, mixing up power levels, mixing up what counts as combat. He doesn't know if that's going to keep happening or if it'll eventually correct itself, so for now, his plan is simple. Just keep training honestly and let breakthroughs come naturally, since those might be what unlocks new achievements down the line. Later that night, his dad comes home looking worn out, still job hunting with no luck. People keep passing him over for being over 40. He mentions maybe applying for a night security gig at the Shadow Hunting Bureau, which immediately worries his mom given how dangerous that org's actual work is. He reassures her it's just standing guard, low risk, and reminds her he's close to his own first break anyway. She tells him about Jiang Ye's ranking, and he lights up, proud but also a little pained, wishing his son had gotten better talent so he wouldn't be stuck grinding the same hard road he did. Then he says it plainly, no matter what it costs him, he's getting his kid into a real martial arts university. Turns out enhanced hearing comes with a downside. Jiang Ye picks up his parents' conversation through the thin walls and realizes his dad really is going for that night security job at the Shadow Hunting Bureau. He knows exactly what that place actually is. The organization that deals with creatures called the Shadow Race, things that latch onto people's shadows and drain their life force, immune to tech and only stoppable through real martial arts. Safest place in the city on a normal day. Worst place in the city the second a shadow disaster hits. He gets why his dad's doing it though. Bills don't pay themselves and martial arts training eats money constantly. Meat alone is expensive with prices jacked up thanks to the shadow race problem, and that's before factoring in the pricier supplements rich kids get to eat. His family isn't rich. That just hardens his resolve to actually make it into a real martial arts university. Not just for himself, for them too. He goes back to grinding, same as every night. Wakes up the next morning and notices his cultivation ticked up a full % overnight, way faster than his usual pace, and starts wondering if the physique boost is actually buffing his raw talent too, not just his body. That's a bigger deal than it sounds, since talent is usually fixed. After dropping his little sister off at school, he heads into his own routine, and a month blows by in a blur of training, eating, sleeping, repeat. No new achievements pop up in that time. He figures they only trigger off some kind of system glitch or hitting new strength thresholds, and he hasn't stumbled into anything new, but raw progress is still climbing steadily, and by the end of the month he's already halfway to great success, way faster than anyone with his talent level should be moving. In culture class, the teacher breaks down the 4 tiers of martial talent: original, newborn, Taobone, extraordinary, and Zheng. He learns that talent and physique are actually separate stats, which lines up with what his own system panel already implied. Hearing what newborn tier kids are capable of, potentially reaching perfection by sophomore year and even breaking into the real Star Sky martial arts as juniors, kinda deflates him a little, reminds him how far ahead the elite class actually is. Back in martial arts class, he spots Li Jichao casually injecting another dragon pill, something he's apparently been doing constantly this month. 30,000 one deep already, money Jiang Ye's family doesn't have anywhere close to. Chen walks in looking a bit pale, teaches as usual, and then drops something big right before class ends. She tells Jiang Ye to come to her office after lunch. Classmates immediately start whispering, some jealous, some just confused why he's getting special treatment nobody else gets. Shaoqing, the girl who keeps giving him water, shows up again with another bottle, gets shy, bolts. When Yue shows up right after, half joking, half genuinely bothered, accusing Jiang Ye of secretly being replaced by someone with actual talent. He's noticed the month of insane progress up close and isn't buying hard work. As the full explanation, jokingly demands Jiang Ye cut him in if he's found some kind of cheat. Jiang Ye deflects with a joke about perseverance, when Yue shoots that down instantly, and they head to the lunch before the conversation goes further. Cafeteria's got a countdown clock now. Dining time keeps shrinking to squeeze in more training time. Current allowance for their year is 20 minutes. Both of them are annoyed, since heavy training needs actual food, and this feels counterproductive. They also notice the elite class gets private dining rooms and better food perks entirely exempt from the timer. One more reminder of the gap between regular and elite students. After lunch, Jiang Ye heads to Chen Zilu's office. She's not there yet, so he just starts training while he waits. When she finally shows up, her first question catches him off guard. She asks if he's been using dragon pills to explain his sudden jump in progress. He denies it immediately. She tells him using pills this early would actually hurt him long term since he hasn't hit great success yet, and that Li Jiqiao only gets cleared for early pill use because his parents can offset the side effects. Then she pivots and says if he ever does want pills later, she's got a cheaper, safer source lined up for him, basically revealing she's the one supplying Li Jiqiao too. She then guesses the real explanation, wondering if he's undergone something called martial bone awakening, a rare phenomenon where someone's innate talent physically shifts and improves, since normally talent and its physical basis are fixed for life. Jiang Ye realizes this lines up conveniently with his actual constitution boost from the system, so he goes along with her theory, tweaking his story slightly to match. She asks to check his neck, he agrees, and the second she touches him, some kind of energy pulses through his spine, an intense, oddly pleasant sensation he doesn't fully understand himself. She confirms afterward that it does look like martial bone awakening, which bumps his university prospects up a notch. He thanks her for her guidance. She brushes it off but seems pleased, then tells him that now that he's had this awakening, there's more he needs to be told. Chen Zilu drops the real reason she called him in, asking if he's ever thought about switching to the key class. He hasn't, not once. That world's always felt out of reach for someone with his talent tier. She presses further, asking what his actual goal is, regular university or the 25 schools alliance. And this time, he doesn't hesitate. He says the alliance. With the system on his side now, his ambitions have shifted. He knows the odds are brutal this late in the game, but he's aiming higher than he used to. She lays out the reality. Only the top 10 students in the key class each year actually make it into the alliance. And even those kids are newborn talent types who typically hit perfection by sophomore year, sometimes even breaking through to real Star Sky martial arts status by junior year. But she tells him the martial bone awakening changes his odds, in theory, provided he transfers into the key class soon to actually access that level of training. She lists off what he'd gain: better resources, access to advanced techniques, priority in trials, paid trainer work, and unlimited use of virtual training tech that's normally rationed for regular class students. He's tempted, but there's a catch. She only teaches the regular class, so switching would cut him off from his perception boost. He half jokes asking if he can still come consult her even after transferring, and she agrees, clearly a little touched even while teasing him for assuming she's better than whatever teachers wait for him in the key class. Then she lays out the real requirement. He needs to hit perfection in the cultivation technique by the end of junior year for the transfer to actually matter. He plays it confident, and she notices, so she gives him 2 legitimate ways to speed things up: supplements or medication, which she's already ruled out for him for now, and something new: school trials. These trials reward serious cash and rare techniques for passing, but they're basically reserved for key class students, and she tells him flat out he's not ready yet. Come back after great success. She also mentions scholarship money, tied to top 10 class rankings, as one more lever he can pull. He thanks her sincerely and heads out. What he doesn't hear is her afterward, quietly going over his file and mumbling to herself about how unheard of it is for someone with his low talent tier to awaken their martial bone at all, since historically only much higher talent students have ever done that. Back in class, Jiang Ye recalibrates. Turns out getting into the alliance basically requires becoming a full Star Sky martial arts master, a bar so high that even his own father, who's been training for years, hasn't cleared it. Still, he lays out a plan: hit great success by the end of sophomore year, land top 10, ideally top 3, on the final exam for the scholarship money, and lean hard into the daily perception boost from Chen Zilu's teaching to speed everything up, even if that means showing up at her door constantly. Jiang Ye drags himself out of Chen Zilu's office, totally wiped, having just burned an entire afternoon getting one-on-one tutoring instead of sitting through regular self-study. When Yuehui clocks and how drained he looks and gets a bit salty when he finds out where he was, since he'd asked for the same private treatment before, and just got told to figure it out during the regular class. Jiang Ye jokes it off as a looks thing. They both know it isn't. It's really the effort, plus his whole martial bone awakening cover story of doing the talking. Privately, Jiang Ye notes his comprehension seems to spike even harder during actual one-on-one time compared to regular group class. At home that night, dinner has an unusual ingredient: leopard gall, a legit martial arts supplement his dad splurged on now that he's pulling in a solid paycheck from his new night guard job at the Shadow Hunting Bureau. It's a once-a-month treat given the cost. His little sister tries to angle for a bite and gets gently shut down since it's specifically for his training. Jiang Ye feels the effect almost immediately, warmth spreading through his stomach, and rushes to his room to cultivate while the boost is active. 5 hours later, he's drenched in sweat, but nearly 5% further into minor success, a jump that would have normally taken him a full week. It's addictive, and he knows it, but also knows this level of supplement is a rare splurge for his family, so the real fix is leveling up enough to start earning his own money. Time skips forward to mid-June, finals approaching, the whole grade tightening up and grinding harder, since top 10 placement determines who gets extra resources heading into third year. Jiang Ye keeps up his routine, though his access to Chen Zilu's private coaching thins out since she's got other students needing her too, and he doesn't push it, figuring her generosity so far has already been more than fair. Then late one night, mid-cultivation, his whole body starts making these increasingly deep cracking sounds, and he feels a breakthrough hit like ice cracking apart. He's officially hit great success after half a year of grinding. Before he can even process it, the system fires off again, flagging that his strength has blown past its tracked ceiling entirely. New title unlocked, Martial Arts Grandmaster, along with a fresh reward, another physical upgrade, and something new gets unlocked entirely, a feature called the Martial Arts Celestial Ladder. His body starts reshaping itself again, sea level jumping to B level, everything down to his bone structure and meridians getting overhauled. He's thrilled, since if C level already gave him this much of a boost, B level should hit even harder. Then he reads what the system labels him now. Martial Arts Grandmaster, described basically as a legendary sect-founding, history-shaping figure. He immediately clocks the exaggeration, since in this actual world, or a title like that would get stomped by an average high schooler. Still, a new feature unlocks alongside it, the Martial Arts Celestial Ladder, framed as the next real path forward, and now that he's capped out what the system alone can hand him. Curious, he activates it and gets yanked into some kind of vision, standing in front of a massive golden stairway wrapped in glowing runes, stretching up to the clouds with rest platforms every 10 steps. Climbing gets harder the higher he goes, pressure building until step 10 nearly maxes him out, but he pushes through to the first platform, where the pressure vanishes, and a prompt asks if he wants to start the first trial. Confused since he assumed climbing itself was the challenge, he decides the reward must be worth it and goes in anyway. The scene shifts into what looks exactly like a massage parlor he used to frequent in his past life. A staff member walks in, and it turns out to be Chen Zulu, dressed completely out of character, treating this like a routine familiar visit. Jiang Ye is thrown off, but gets pulled into the moment anyway, and things drift on for hours until something finally clicks, and he snaps out of it. Realizing this can't be real since Chen Zulu has no business being in his old memories, the second he realizes it's an illusion, everything dissolves and he's back on the ladder. Turns out that was the actual test, a check on his martial arts will, basically his mental focus and resistance to distraction. He failed, but is surprised he lasted over 3 hours before catching on, chalking it up to how disturbingly real the illusion felt and rather than any real lack of willpower. Given a second shot at the trial, he goes back in, ends up in the same setup, and this time recognizes the pattern building again before it fully pulls him in. Jiang Ye keeps grinding through the illusion trial, failing again but noticing he's completing it faster each time, half an hour quicker than before. He puts it together since his subconscious keeps resisting even when it doesn't feel like it. Waking up sooner actually means his mental resistance is building, so he treats the repeated failures as training instead of setbacks, and just keeps running it back. Attempt after attempt, the completion time keeps dropping, 2 hours, then under 2, then under 1, progress slowing the closer he gets but never fully stalling. The illusion doesn't always feature Chen Zulu either. It rotates through other faces, but his focus holds regardless. Eventually, he clears it in just 10 minutes, officially passing the first layer. A monument rises up engraved with his title, and the system starts calculating rewards. Turns out he'd gone through the illusion a full 47 times before clearing it, technically putting him in a bizarre bottom percentile among grandmasters for restraint, which nets him a slightly embarrassing title alongside 2 more useful perks, a combat boost against opposite-sex opponents, and the ability to actually see other people's martial talent at a glance. He shrugs off the awkward title without much shame, then gets genuinely excited about the last reward buried in there, a permanent 10% comprehension boost stacking on top of everything else he's already got. The system tells him he can keep rerunning the first layer for training purposes going forward, just without new rewards, and that the second layer is now open. He tries climbing toward it immediately, but the pressure on literally the first step is already too much to push through, confirming he needs to hit perfection in his cultivation technique, maybe even break through to Star Sky martial arts before he can attempt it for real. He accepts it, and heads back down. He wakes up at 4 in the morning, briefly assuming the whole thing was a dream, until his panel confirms otherwise. New titles, new stats, a physical upgrade that's very real. His body feels completely different, lighter, sharper senses, faster reflexes, everything dialed up. Between the physical jump and the stacked comprehension boost now sitting at a pretty significant total, he's genuinely curious just how much faster his training is about to get. Sleep's been rough lately thanks to the nightmares, so Jiang Ye just skips it and gets an early start on training instead. The second he settles into his stance, something's different. All of Chen Zulu's past lessons suddenly feel razor sharp in his memory. Details he used to gloss over are just obvious now. He realized this must be what raw talent actually feels like, since a teacher can only demonstrate so much. The rest depends on the student actually catching the nuance. And for the first time, he's catching everything. He spends the whole morning locked into training, completely absorbed, and doesn't even notice the sun's fully up until 11 a.m., 6 hours gone without a second thought. Lucky for him, it's a day off. He checks his progress, expecting maybe a sliver of improvement given how brutal post-great success gains are supposed to be, and instead finds he jumped a full 2% in just 6 hours, something that should have taken him roughly a month. He connects the dots immediately. This is the B-level physique, and that stacked comprehension boost actually kicking in for real. Still technically low talent on paper, but functionally a different person now. And this is apparently just the payoff from clearing the first layer of the celestial ladder, which has him even more curious what deeper layers might offer. Lunch gets called, and his sister Jiang teases him about locking his door and not answering last night, parroting some rumor from her classmates about boys who lock themselves away being up to no good. It hits a little too close to home given what actually happened in that illusion trial, and when she starts spiraling into thinking he did something police-worthy, he just bonks her on the head and tells her to eat. Both parents are out working, his dad on a day shift this time, his mom picking up extra part-time work on top of her main job, since keeping Jiang Ye fed and supplied for training isn't cheap. He reminds himself he technically qualifies for paid trials now that he's hit great success, though realistically that's a next semester thing. Tomorrow's the final assessment, and he's set his sights on top 3 specifically for the scholarship money, which could be a real financial cushion for the family. Watching his little sister eat, something occurs to him, and he quietly pulls up his system interface, pointing it at her just to see what happens. A label pops up over her head immediately. Mortal body, physical constitution, unmarked tier. Testing the range on his new ability, Jiang Ye checks a few random people from his window, and it works. Everyone's flashing a mortal body tier tag above their head. D level for regular pedestrians. Then it hits him that his sister's readout was different. Hers just says mortal body with no level attached at all, no tier assigned whatsoever. That's odd enough to make him think back to how she actually joined the family. She's adopted too, found abandoned as a toddler back when his parents couldn't have biological kids, and his mom, an orphan herself, refused to leave her behind despite the tight finances at the time. For a second he wonders if she's secretly some hidden prodigy, but he talks himself out of it fast. She's never shown a single sign of anything special growing up, so whatever the missing level means, it's probably still just an ordinary result dressed up weird by a glitchy system. Meanwhile, Jiang Ting's over there spiraling in the opposite direction, convinced her brother's up to something shady after watching him pace around, and in classic little sister fashion, she offers to take the fall for him if police show up, reasoning she's too young to get in real trouble. He shuts that down immediately, more confused than annoyed. That night, he trains himself into exhaustion again, finally crashing around 1 a.m. He drifts into a strange half-dream, seeing himself as a literal infant being carried by a young man who looks eerily like an older version of himself toward a grand palace labeled Star Sea Divine Path. The man mutters something about needing to succeed, walks forward with resolve, and then the dream fractures. The man vanishes, and baby Jiang Ye is left crying alone in total darkness. He wakes up in a cold sweat, rattled by how vivid it felt compared to the vague nightmares he's been having lately. Logically, infant memories shouldn't even exist, so he figures his growing strength might be dragging up buried fragments. He can't help but wonder if that young man was his actual biological father, but quickly drops the thread, reasoning that as someone who transmigrated into this body, his birth parents don't really matter to him the way the people actually raising him do. Next morning, walking his sister to school, she asks for a hot dog after class, claiming a classmate told her that's how you get stronger. It's a sweet, misguided attempt to justify wanting to grow up fast enough to actually help their parents out. He gently tells her that that's his job, not hers. She insists on helping anyway, and he agrees to grab her the hot dog before sending her off. At school, the mood's noticeably tense. Today's the final exam. Checking his panel on the way in, he sees he jumped a full 4% in a single day at great success, a stage that's supposed to be 5 times harder than minor success to progress through. He credits it fully to the B-level physique, making what used to be a grind feel almost intuitive now, comparing it to the difference between a struggling student and a genius solving the same problem. Morning cultural exam goes by easily since he's already the top academic student in class, though he still checks his work carefully before submitting. After lunch, he heads to the martial arts room for last-minute prep, spotting Li Jichao injecting a legal pre-exam potion. Expensive, but allowed within the hour. Before window, a reminder of how deep his family's resources run compared to Jiang Ye's. Testing his talent sight on him out of curiosity, he sees Li Jichao's actually only sea level, despite the family backing, which tracks given his known progression speed. Faster than average, but still behind true elite class students. Scanning the rest of the room, most classmates read as D level, with only a handful of top 10 students hitting C level. It reinforces just how rare real advantage is here. With the final exam now underway, he's genuinely curious just how far his own results will climb this time, especially with top 3 finishes carrying real scholarship money on the line. Grade director Zhang Jianwu walks in to run the final assessment, and Jiang Ye instantly checks him with his new talent sight, getting back an A-level reading, further split into sub-tiers apparently, way above anything he's seen so far. Makes sense for someone basically running security under the principal. It also gets him wondering what talent even does differently from physique, since he's still technically stuck with original talent yet keeping pace with newborn tier kids from the special class. Testing starts with punch strength. Shu Sisi, usually second in class, breaks 600 kilograms and thinks she might finally take first. Then Li Jichao steps up and blows everyone away at 732 kilograms, a jump so big it stuns the room, though Zhang Jianwu privately shrugs it off given the kid's wealthy powerhouse parents funding his gains. Wen Yuehui's floored, but Jiang Ye plays it cool, chalking Li Zhichao's progress up to genuine hard work and good resources. Nothing suspicious about it. Then it's Zhang Yi's turn, and he throws a punch that lands at 610 kilograms, more than double his last score. He's actually a little surprised himself, silently connecting the dots that his B-level physique is directly amplifying his raw output beyond what the cultivation level alone would give him. The room reacts hard. Shu Sisi realizes she just got bumped out of contention for second place entirely, and Wen Yuehui jokingly accuses him of hacks or some kind of mutation. Jiang Ye just deflects with the usual hard work line, quietly amused since he's not exactly lying either. Zhang Jianwu watches all this from the stage, cross-referencing what he's seeing against Jiang Ye's file, an ordinary kid from an ordinary background who jumped from rank 40 to rank 25, to now sitting in second place overall in a single year. He connects it to something Chen Zilu apparently already told him about a promising student in the grade. Still, from his vantage point as someone who's seen real talent up close, this all reads as promising, not extraordinary. Sophomore surges like this aren't unheard of, they just tend to fizzle out by senior year. Final punch strength rankings lock in Li Zhichao, Jiang Ye, and Shu Sisi as the top 3, with Wen Yuehui also cracking the top 6 this time. Next up is the speed test, and Shu Sisi steps up determined to make up ground there instead, since speed's always been her stronger event, hoping to leapfrog Jiang Ye and close in on Li Zhichao for the top spot. Speed test's up, and Shu Sisi's psyching herself into it, since the scholarship difference between second and first place is huge for a family under the poverty income line like hers. She pushes past her usual best, hitting 16.9 meters per second, genuinely surprising herself. Jiang Ye goes right after and clocks 16.1, respectable but confirming what he already suspected. His B-level physique leans harder into raw strength than speed. Shu Sisi holds second overall in this event, mildly disappointed she couldn't catch Li Zhichao but relieved she's still ahead of Jiang Ye here, and she resolves to lock down second place for good in the next event, combat. Final speed rankings put Li Zhichao first, Shu Sisi second, Jiang Ye third. No surprise given she's had great success longer and trained specifically for speed. Jiang Ye's not phased, he's got his own scholarship math running, knowing exactly how much money separates each placement. And he knows Shu Sisi with her C-level physique is still his real competition here, so he stays focused rather than getting cocky about his earlier strength win. Combat assessment starts, and while watching Shu Sisi go first, Jiang Ye idly wonders if sparring against Director Zhang could trigger another system achievement, reasoning Zhang's probably at the same absurd ancestor tier as Chen Zilu given how strong grade directors typically are. When it's his turn, Zhang's already sizing him up, having heard about him from Chen Zilu and wanting to see if the hype's deserved. The fight is intense, Jiang Ye going aggressive with raw power while Zhang counters with smooth, efficient technique, the two trading blows that echo like metal on stone. Wen Yuehui watching connects the dots on why Jiang Ye's always looked drained lately, correctly guessing it's from all that private coaching with Chen Zilu paying off. After more than 20 exchanges, Zhang finally forces him off the platform, but Jiang Ye still lands second place in this event. Checking his system afterward, no new achievement popped, which puzzles him until he concludes Zhang's probably in the same ancestor bracket as Chen Zilu, rather than a notch below her. Combined scores after 3 events put Li Zhichao comfortably in first with 295, Jiang Ye second with 260. He does the math on what he still needs. Just 90 more points in the last event to clear the baseline for a regular martial arts university, though the 25 schools alliance requires a brutal 700, and the actual top 10 schools sit near 900 out of a possible 1,200. Long way to go, but he's got a full year left. Last event, the virtual Starry Sky combat test, happens in a separate spherical building at the center of campus, and Class 9 lucks into a short line since other classes are already queued up. As they wait, some special class students filter out having already finished, radiating the kind of effortless confidence that comes with newborn talent. One girl in particular stands out, cool and aloof, apparently having already scored an absurd 700 points across her own 4 assessments. Curious, Jiang Ye pulls up his talent site to check her out, and whatever he sees clearly catches him off guard. Checking Zhao Qingli's actual physique with his talent site, Jiang Ye finds she's B-level, same tier as him, which throws him a little, since her scores are already sitting way above his despite matching physique. He chalks the gap up to either raw talent or something else entirely, since her being newborn tier and a full year ahead of him, plus already sitting at 700 points, explains plenty on its own. Still, he stays grounded about it, knowing he's got a full year left to close distance, even while acknowledging that even catching up to newborn tier peers is really just the entry point in a world stacked with much scarier tiers above that. Extraordinary talents who start training at 10 and hit breakthroughs most people never reach at all. It doesn't discourage him. If anything, it fuels him, since he's lived 2 lives now and still wants to climb as high as this world allows. Inside the assessment hall, the grade-wide leaderboard confirms most top spots belong to special class students, regular class kids barely cracking the bottom of the top 100. He clocks something odd, though. Special class has actual A-level physiques in it, yet Zhao Qingli's still holding first with just B-level, which doesn't add up on paper and makes him wonder if raw talent outweighs physique more than he assumed. Teams get called for the group virtual Starry Sky combat trials against the Shadow Race, and Jiang Ye is grouped with Xiaoqing along with 3 lower-ranked classmates, who immediately defer to him as the strongest one there, basically asking him to carry them. He keeps it humble, framing it as a team effort. He also privately notes that having Zhisheng on the squad activates his beauty path chasing perk, extra attack speed and crit chance, just from having a female teammate, which he's not shy about leaning into given the scholarship money riding on a good result here. Everyone suits up in the virtual helmets, tech that fully simulates a real environment down to pain response, and Jiang Ye drops into a dark simulated city alongside his team. Almost immediately, a Shadow Race creature manifests out of the darkness, in an infant body variant, the weakest tier but still dangerous enough to require a full team to handle safely. It vanishes the instant they brace for it, and Jiang Ye, remembering Chen Zilu's repeated warnings about tracking shadow positioning in a fight, realizes it's using his own shadow to flank him. He spins around just in time to catch it lunging at him head-on, buff's already active, and throws himself into the opening strike. The buff kicks in hard, extra punches per second stacking up fast, and Jiang Ye ends up hammering the shadow creature into submission, each hit landing near max force. It doesn't die though, just relocates, jumping into his teammates' shadows instead once it clocks that he's the harder target. Its scream messes with everyone's heads except his, since he's apparently more resistant, letting him stay the one calling out warnings mid-fight. It goes after Xiaoqing next. She throws a weaker punch, but holds her ground until the others swarm in to help. Human fists turn out to be one of the only real weapons against these things. Guns and blades barely scratch them thanks to some kind of natural anti-shadow field the body generates. The fight drags on, brutal for a group effort against just the weakest tier of enemy, and one teammate loses an arm when Jiang Ye's warning comes a beat too late. Just as the creature starts visibly breaking down, his damage buff finally proccing for the first time all match, and he lands the finishing blow, though the thing manages one last suicidal lunge toward another teammate before getting cut down in time. No rest though. 3 more shadows show up for round 2, confirming the trial scales up like a game, more enemies each level. Elsewhere, other teams are struggling hard too. Shu Cici's squad is getting shredded, 2 members already missing an arm, and she's pushing through on pure willpower, fixating on her family and the dream of the Alliance to keep fighting even as she takes a serious hit herself. Li Jichao's team is in even worse shape, and he nearly gets caught off guard trying to save them after getting stunned by one of the creature's disorienting roars. Meanwhile, Zhang Jianu is watching the leaderboard from the sidelines, quietly impressed that Zhao Qingli's already at 700 points, despite not showing standout talent back in freshman year, wondering if she's got a real shot at a top 10 school next year. His attention drifts to Jiang Ye too, privately entertaining the idea that the kid might have an outside shot at the Alliance himself, and decides he's worth giving a trial opportunity, partly as a favor to Chen Zilu. A cocky but modest advanced class student Wang Xiang, currently 3rd in the whole grade, wanders over and needles him about scouting from the regular class, and Jiang shuts him down for pretending to be humble, while quietly still being sharp enough to notice. Jiang Ye finishes off the last shadow of round 2, and the team barely gets a breather before round 3 drops 5 more shadows on them at once, way past what any of them have left in the tank. He tries pushing solo for one more kill before the timer runs out, but it's too much, and the whole group gets pulled from the simulation. Results come in, and it's a mixed bag. Tao Xiaogang shockingly ends up with 2 MVP-style category wins, catching even himself off guard, since it really just came down to being in the right place when enemies were near death, and instinctively finishing them off to protect teammates. Jiang Ye takes the real headline stats, though. Best damage, best vision, best martial arts will, and ends up group MVP overall. He's relieved, half expecting to end up feeling like dead weight in the fight given how it started. Checking the broader scoreboard, Jiang Ye lands 330 points on this assessment, just short of the standard university cutoff. Li Jichao surprisingly only pulls 355 total, meaning his score on this specific test was worse than Jiang Ye's, seemingly because he didn't make it past round 3 either, likely thrown off by the same mind-affecting roar that rattled him earlier. Jiang Ye realized that puts him ahead of Li Jichao specifically on this test, even if he's still sitting at 2nd overall behind him. He's satisfied regardless given how far he's come this semester. Li Jichao clocks the same numbers and is visibly annoyed, doing the math on how much ground Jiang Ye has closed since the start of the year, and clearly recalibrating how seriously he should be taking him. Shu Cici similarly checks her own placement, frustrated to land 3rd again, but oddly consoles herself, that at least she lost to another underdog from a working-class background rather than one of the wealthier kids, while vowing to close the gap next semester. As everyone clears out, Zhang Jianwu privately reflects on Jiang Ye's unexpectedly high virtual score, correctly attributing it to strong martial arts will rather than raw combat power alone, something the Shadow Race's mind-affecting abilities specifically test for. Wang Xiang, the falsely humble third-ranked special class student trailing nearby, assumes Zhang's cryptic praise about a hidden dragon in the grade must be about Li Jiqiao gets corrected, and spirals into wrongly assuming Zhang must actually be talking about him instead, completely missing that it's actually pointed at Jiang Ye. Final scores post officially. Li Jiqiao first, Jiang Ye second, Xu Sisi third. His usual crew, Tao Xiaogang and Xia Qing among them, rush over to celebrate, giving him credit for how much stronger they performed in the virtual assessment thanks to picking up pointers from him mid-fight. Even a small 20-point bump, translating to a big jump in overall class rank. Jiang Ye tells them to keep pushing so they don't slide back next semester. Chen Zilu comes in to wrap up the term, briefly recaps the results, then calls out both Jiang Ye and Li Jiqiao specifically to see her privately afterward. Once alone with them, she drops the real reason. There's a school trial coming up in a month, and she's gotten both of them in despite the ordinary class normally only getting one slot. She's upfront that at their current level, great success, the odds of clearing it are low, and failure carries a real risk to future cultivation, even without direct life-threatening danger. Both boys commit anyway without hesitation. She dismisses Li Jiqiao and keeps Jiang Ye back, sets up privacy, then genuinely praises him for jumping from rank 25 to rank 2 in one semester, more than she expected even after personally vouching for him to Zhang Jianwu. She hands him an envelope with 30,000 yuan in it, revealing she made a bet with Zhang that Jiang Ye would clear the trial, and is using this as advance funding for the expensive supplements he'll need to actually stand a chance. Jiang Ye tries to push back on accepting that much. She brushes off the money as nothing to her personally, and frames it as a loan he can repay after graduating or once he starts earning from trials himself, clearly more concerned with preserving his dignity than actually needing the money back. He thanks her sincerely, understanding exactly what she's doing for him. Before he leaves, she casually warns him to stay indoors more over the break since the city might not be totally safe right now, hinting at shadowed disaster risk, then gives him her contact info, first her messaging ID, then a spare communication watch when he mentions he can't easily afford a device himself. As he's about to walk out, something makes him glance back and check her status through his talent sight one more time, and whatever shows up over her head this time clearly catches him completely off guard. The moment Jiang Ye is gone, Chen Zilu's phone rings, and her whole rich benefactor mystique falls apart instantly. It's a friend named Zhao Yingluo, asking if she needs more money after already loaning her the 30 grand. Turns out Chen Zilu's actually broke herself, barely scraping by on her own cultivation budget, and she asked for another 20,000. Zhao Yinglu's shocked. She's giving away money she doesn't even have, especially for some student, and starts fishing for details. Is he cute? What's he like? Clearly smelling a good story. Chen Zilu brushes it off as just helping someone out, deflects the teasing, and hangs up before things get too personal. Left alone, she drifts into a memory. A young girl lying sick in bed, doctors explaining that cultivating with her body would mean permanent agony, some rare condition making the martial art path essentially poison for her, despite clearly having real talent. Her parents react with disappointment rather than concern, casually writing her off since they've got other kids to invest in instead. The girl, unmistakably a younger Chen Zilu, silently vows to become powerful anyway. It's clear now why she's drawn to Jiang Ye. She recognizes something of her own story in his situation. Meanwhile, Jiang Ye is walking home replaying what he saw when he checked her talent earlier, and it rattles him. She's not just newborn tier like he assumed. She's Tao Bone, a tier so far above newborn it's barely comparable, the kind of talent that makes martial arts trivially easy. Her physique reading profound body upper A is apparently a whole tier above even mortal body, putting her 7 full levels above someone like Zhang Jianwu, the grade director he'd assumed was near the top of what he'd ever encounter. It also clicks that she's genuinely young, barely 19 based on her ID, still technically a university student herself despite teaching here. He lets the thought go, though, reminding himself that what matters right now is his own climb, and that her help came specifically because she recognized real effort paying off, not out of nowhere. Heading out as dusk sets in, he runs into Li Jiqiao waiting with someone. Li Jiqiao pulls him aside, visibly tense, and flat out asks if he's been taking performance drugs. Jiang Ye denies it honestly, but Li Jiqiao doesn't buy it. He's been injecting expensive stuff constantly and still can't match Jiang Ye's growth rate, so in his head there's no way this progress is happening without chemical help, especially from a family that supposedly can't afford it. He leaves with a pointed warning implying Jiang Ye's momentum will collapse next month once the money runs dry, clearly bracing for a rivalry he thinks he still has the edge in. Jiang Ye's left standing there, completely confused by the whole exchange.